Welcome to the Catcher's Youth podcast. I'm your host, Jack Ferrick. Today's guest is Brandon Geyer. Brandon was a 7-year vet in the big leagues. He is now currently the founder of Fully Equipped Athlete. Hey, Brandon, thanks for coming on the show today. Really appreciate your time, brother.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, Jack.
Yeah, no, man, we've known each other since high school. It's been a long time. I remember you and I were roommates in the Commonwealth Games, and you always kind of carried yourself differently in a good way. And I remember just even when we were seniors in high school, you would talk about what you would put in your body, how you would train and stuff like that, which I always thought it always stuck with me, and obviously we were fortunate to stay connected through the years, and and that mindset never really changed. And when you committed to UVA, I think you were one of that first wave of guys in our area that really kind of changed the identity of what UVA was at the time. I know Coach O'Connor had just come to UVA. I think you were one of his first signees, and you mentally were always kind of equipped to do, big things. And then it wasn't surprising to me that you've had so much success just because of the person that you are. And now I know one of the main things you do with Fully Equipped Athlete is mental training. So if you want to talk about just kind of like those things and those experiences that have allowed you to, grow, and, what kind of gave you an edge, not only athletically, but mentally.
Yeah, no, I appreciate all that. Really, for me, is just a quick background. My first 3 years in high school at Herndon, I consider myself a pretty average baseball player. I think as a junior, I hit 270, was getting absolutely no looks baseball wise for college. And I was set on playing football in college. So, what changed? And I got the book right here. I read this book, Heads Up Baseball by Ken Rosa. And because I mean, I love baseball, and I knew I had more to give. It's just my mind was killing me. I just didn't have the right mindset. I couldn't handle failure. My confidence was good, based on, if I got a hit or got good results, it would be like a roller coaster mentally. So going into that junior summer, I was reading Heads Up Baseball, and it changed everything, man. Just utilize my breath to help me slow down, get that confidence, get that elite mindset. And then really senior year, it changed everything for me. Went and, like you said, I played with you in the Commonwealth Games, and that started to open up, and, colleges started to reach out. Coach O'Connor, I believe I was the first recruit when he was at UVA. He came to my house and sat down. And at that time, UVA was pretty good, but they weren't what they are now. And
Correct.
But man, just talking to him, he sold the program. I was like, okay, I think about it, but I'm pretty much leaning towards Virginia. But basically, that's how the mindset and how I got into, mental skills, particularly, is I knew I had much more to give than what I did my first 3 years in high school. And trust me, I saw plenty of guys, and many people listening might be in the same position. Maybe they're sophomore, junior, senior, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And guys they play with, their teammates, their competition, got scholarships years ago. Or they're getting all district, all med, all state, all this stuff. Hey, I saw plenty of those guys do that way before I did. So, but the thing is, you just can't give up. You just got to keep pushing, and you got to turn over every stone. And for me, I was already doing nutrition. I was working out hard, but it was the sixth tool, what I like to call the mindset, that literally changed everything. So that's really how it came about. And then progressively, actually, when I was a rookie with the Tampa Bay Rays, Ken Ravizza, who unfortunately passed away a couple years ago, but he's like the pioneer for mental performance in baseball. He was a sports psychologist with the Rays, so I got to work with him, face to face with the Rays, and that changed so much as well. I was like, man, your book changed everything when I was in high school. So then it was just continue to learn, because each step you go to, game gets faster. The competition, the skills gap gets smaller and smaller. So you got to do those little things and continue to progress, continue to learn if you really want to find out how good you can be and if you want to make the most of your ability. So that's pretty much how it all came about for me.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I remember, obviously, um, you being a football player, I was also, we played football. And the one thing that there's two things that I've always, when people go multi-sport athletes, we want kids to be multi-sport athletes. And I do agree with that. But at the same time, like, if you're going to be a multi-sport athlete, you're going to have to do double the time so that you don't get rusty, or because no one cares, right? Like, if I'm playing football season and I come out and my swing is trash, no one's going to give me a lapse because of that. But the main reason why I thought playing other sports, and I remember you, because you were so physical. Like, the thing about baseball that's so humbling mentally is that you just can't just give more effort, right? Like, in football, I can sometimes give more effort and have success, right? Like, I can
Mhm.
blitz or I can make a run, and I just can will myself to success, right? Just pure physical ability, run through something, and you get that extra effort. And I feel like that's why sometimes, especially just speaking of football players, and a lot of catchers who are multi-sport athletes do play football, right? Because of the physicality of it. You know, they
Mhm.
they feel they try to dig into that extra effort, and sometimes that extra effort gets in the way of execution. So I've gotten to the
Mhm.
point now where I'm like, hey, I don't need more effort, I need more execution on the baseball side.
Mhm.
um and then the other thing that I love about, the football aspect of it is, the clock, right? There's nothing more depressing than being down by a score with a minute left, you're on defense and the team takes a knee, right? Like, the game's over, but it's not over, and I feel like
Mhm.
in baseball, there's such a mental advantage to people that have competed with a clock, because there is no clock.
Mhm.
Obviously when you're not playing, time limits and whatnot, these showcase tournaments, but in high school and
Yeah.
college and professional ball, there's no time, there's no clock. So you
Mhm.
always feel at least like you have a puncher's chance, you know what I mean, to come
Yeah.
back.
Mhm.
And kind of, like I said, just kind of putting up on that. And I mean, kind of just talking about that, you said, guys that were already committed, that were younger, we were fortunate. I think that year there was at least two first rounders when we were down there. And they were both younger than we were. They were the class below. We had Upton and Snyder, and
Mhm.
just physical freaks, that just did an unbelievable job. And it was kind of the same thing though, because you hadn't committed yet. And um, I still remember the ball you hit, that hit like a house. That was unbelievable. Like, I'm sitting there, and I think Brandon went big chicken, and then you went fly, you went big fly. And my dad always laughs. He's like, "Oh, when you come up, no one saw anything, because everyone was just looking at their phones and getting on the cell phone." But it was one of the funniest things in the world just to watch you guys, go out and ball out. And like you said, though, you even then, like, you were excited about it, but getting to talk to you, as we've gotten older, you didn't probably really enjoy it. You probably were like, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do. And I think, to me, that's one of the hardest things when I work with kids is they're so hard on failure, but they're not equal on success. So,
Mhm.
like, a kid like hits a ball or doesn't receive right, you know, and they throw their head down, they get upset, you see physical frustration. Then they do it absolutely perfect, and it's almost like they're still upset because that's what they're supposed to do. Versus, if I get that upset when I fail, I better get pretty happy when I succeed. If
Yeah.
not, if not,
Mhm.
this is going to be a really tough thing to do.
Dude, that was a challenge for me because One of those guys who never was satisfied, and I think it's a good thing and it's a bad
Right.
thing. So, like, I remember specifically, I remember telling my wife the story. I got to the big leagues and I started, the first part, rookie year, what an adjustment, so hard. I'm all of a sudden on the field with Jeter, all these guys. I'm like, I don't even know if I belong here. That's
Mhm.
where working with Ken Ravizza helps so much. Just feeling like you belong. And once you feel that, it changes everything. But I remember once I started feeling like I belong and having success, I'm not going to say names, but I remember guys getting called up to the big leagues for the first time and they had a little success. And you could just tell, man, they're happy to get here. It's almost like they fulfilled a lifelong dream and they're here. And it's like, okay, now whatever happens, I'm good. I made it to,
Right.
and I never had that. I got to the big leagues. I was like, okay, now I'm here. Now I want to stay here. I want
Right.
to
I
be
want to
here as
stay.
long as I possibly can. Part of that was really good because it gave me that drive and desire, that burning fire to keep working hard. But also it could, it's tough because you're not having as much fun.
Right.
So like you said, you got to balance it. So I would find myself, I had a really good game, but okay, that one at bat, I didn't do good. I was 2 for 4, but one or two at bats, I didn't do good. I'm looking at those instead of, damn, those two at bats, I had a really good RBI double, something else.
Right.
Think about those more often than the negatives. And there's so much failure in baseball.
Right.
Some of us can do that. So you're right. It's got to be a fine line. And really it comes down to sticking to the process and having a routine, having a process, whether it's after the game, having a notebook, having a journal, writing down what you thought went really well, and then maybe a couple things you can learn and work on that didn't go your way. But really enjoying the successes, and the failures are going to happen. The key is you got to learn from them and utilize them. And I always say the guys in the big leagues are just the best at failing. You got to be good at failing because no matter how good you are, you're going to fail. You're Mike
Right.
Trout, no matter whoever you are, you're going to fail. It's how you use that failure. And really, you just got to be good at failing. And after a game, I found writing down um, what went good, what went bad, what you need to work on can really help you decompress and get you going for your next performance, and really utilize those failures.
No, I mean that's awesome, and obviously, what's really cool is that you were passionate about those things, and even when you were playing, you could tell like you were, if people that were following you on social media, you were always nutritious, and you could tell like your quotes and everything that you were doing was kind of, you could tell it was like self. I don't want to use the term self care, but that's kind of what it was, right? It was like taking care of your body, taking care of your mind. And what's really cool is you've kind of taken that passion for yourself, right? And the things that you did that gave you that edge and that success. And now you're starting to bring that to, the youth, right? You're starting to bring that to the next generation of ball player. And, not obviously not everyone's going to have a very successful, baseball, athletic career, but the skills that you're teaching right now are also life skills that allow you to handle adversity in anything in life, with, maybe a job
Mhm.
or, college or, hey, relationship, right? Being a father, there's so many things that, I don't want to say we're old, but there's so many more things now that happen in our everyday lives where, mental toughness, it it's something that it doesn't leave you as a skill, right?
Mhm.
The more you can tap into your mental toughness, the more you can handle adversity, take that deep breath. um Really, I feel like gives you an advantage in life.
Mhm.
When your 4-year-old's running around the room at 4 a.m., you're like, what? And I
You,
mean,
you got to. You got to.
right, right, and and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
just kind of talking to me, because this is something that I think is very undervalued. So many kids come, parents, man, I just wish I could get them to relax. I just, and
Mhm.
obviously it's most times the same parent that yells and screams after every swing, but you know, it's like, should we look at a sports psychologist stuff? So my thing is like, kind of talk to me about what you're doing with the fully equipped athlete from the mental side, and
Mhm.
why. why more kids need to think about their mental health or just their conditioning their mental toughness.
Yeah. No, a lot of great stuff right there. So first off, what you said about, after baseball and how it translates to life. When I retired, I already kind of knew what I wanted to do, and working on these mental skills throughout my entire career, whether it's goal setting, visualization. You said being able to handle adversity, because life is going to throw you much more adversity than baseball will.
Mhm.
So you when you're practicing this stuff while you're playing, it's just going to set you up. And I've been talking with other guys who have retired, whether recently or years ago, and guys who might be close. And, they're asking me because they see the transition. Not that it's been easy. I mean, it's been
Right.
tough, but I feel like I maybe had a little heads up because I was working on this mental stuff before I retired. So then I could, transition. It helped. I knew what I wanted to do. But no matter, even if you don't want to get into like mental training, nutrition, that kind of stuff, you're an accountant, whatever it is, your stay-at-home mom, all this stuff is directly translates to everyday life.
Right.
So like I said, if you setting missions, having daily missions, having something to motivate you to go after, whenever I go and do big speeches and talks now, I literally visualize myself week heading into it, maybe 10 minutes a day, just close my eyes and visualize myself going through it and nailing it exactly how I want to, which is exactly how I did before baseball games. With the Cleveland Indians, we had a sleep room, just for example. Before every game, I'd go in there, I would do breath work, I would do meditation, and then I would visualize the pitcher I was facing that night. So if it was CC Sabathia or Chapman, whoever it was, I would do the visualization. And now after baseball, I'm doing the same stuff. It's just, I'm not facing a pitcher, but, about what speech I want to give. So yeah, everything directly translates, especially if you can start. And, I said it earlier, personally, I didn't do this stuff until later in high school. So,
Right.
if you're a younger athlete right now, little league, travel ball earlier in high school, just starting and creating these good habits and these good behaviors, I promise you will help you so much more. And you'll be so far ahead of 80, 90, maybe even more percent of kids your age, because I guarantee they will not be doing it. And that's how you gain that competitive edge. If you feel like, oh, this guy, he's physically naturally gifted more than I am. Okay. Well, you know how many Cubans, Dominicans, Venezuelans, athletes from all around the world that I know had way more talent than I did, but that didn't stop me. That's where you got to think, okay, what can I do to surpass them? What aren't they doing that I can do to get closer? Because I don't have the God-given ability that they have. So it's little things like that that I think, not I think, that I know will help on the field and off the field for athletes of all ages.
No, and I think that's a huge point. And I think, the more you dive into it, right? Where I'm very fortunate, and obviously we live pretty close to each other in this area. There's high level baseball, especially in the Northern Virginia area, and um, you know, there's a lot of kids that are very talented to the point where they normally don't get pushed in adversity until maybe their freshman year when they try out for varsity and they're jumping up in age group, or you have some of those kids now that don't really get pushed until they show up in college.
Mhm.
But those kids sometimes, you know, I think both of us were kind of raised to outwork your competition, and I've always kind of felt it's easier to chase somebody than to be chased. You know what I mean? So I've always picked
Mhm.
somebody that was better or admitted somebody was better and then, shot after them and okay, I pushed myself and I used them as kind of like, okay, I'm going to try to catch them and pass them. And then when I get there, I don't think that I'm in the front. I think there's somebody else to catch. But
Mhm.
some of these kids, they are the person. They are the dog out in front that everyone's chasing. And sometimes I feel like they are so ill-equipped to then when they run into the next pack of dogs, and you saw it obviously, playing in the ACC, these kids that come to UVA and or pro ball, like these guys that come and like you said are just they've always been the best, and then all of a sudden they're just one of the guys. and then
Mm.
that mental toughness, they have skills that maybe they haven't. So I think what I'm getting at is like,
Mhm.
I think so many people want to tap into mental skills after failure, and
Yes. Yeah.
it's like a last resort versus being something that could be, even if you're having a great season, allow yourself to strengthen yourself this way as well. I mean, am I kind of saying some stuff that you've been trying to get across to these kids?
Yeah, dude, 100%. I love that. It's so true. Just so that way, when you will fail, even if you're the best on your team, you maybe not failing yet or failing as much or having that big adversity. No, you're going to at some point. The talent gap's going to shrink, whether it's college or varsity baseball in high school, pro ball. Talent gap's going to shrink. It's just a matter of when. And are you prepared when that happens? Because some guys aren't prepared, but maybe they have enough talent and they have the mental fortitude to learn it quickly and adapt. But a good percentage of people don't have that. So if you're one of those people that don't have it, and then all of a sudden you have failure in adversity, then that's just when everything goes downhill and you can't, really recover. And what you said really made me think of a guy I was talking to recently. His name's James Wood. He's one of the top draft picks. He goes to IMG Academy, but he's from the Maryland area. He was in our facility a couple of weeks ago, and I think he's projected to be like the number 4 overall pick in the draft this year. I was talking to him, and he actually came up to me, which I thought was cool. He said, what are some of the most, I see you working with guys at the facility. What is something that could help me? And I was like, dude, start working on the mental side now. Start thinking about, because I promise you, I know you're one of the best in the country. You're gonna face adversity. If you go to Mississippi State, where he committed, or if you go to or get drafted in rookie ball, you're gonna face adversity. So it's being prepared when that happens. It's working on that mindset now. That sixth tool. It's learning ways to handle failure, to utilize failure, and like I'll say it again, just being prepared because it's going to happen. So I think he took a lot out of that, and that's a great sign when someone who's
Right.
already great and one of the best in the country is already looking for ways to continue to be good. That's what I like to call an elite mindset, where
Right.
you're not satisfied. You want to keep getting better and better.
Right.
Whereas you got guys out there who think they're all this, and then they got it all taken care of and figured out. Okay, wait till adversity hits, then you'll
Right.
really see. But hey, but it might be too late for you because you hadn't worked
Right.
on it before. So yeah, that's really what I think about that.
Yeah, no, and I mean, as like the insecurity of young athletes to act like everything's okay sometimes, to me, is one of the coolest things to kind of break down with kids. A lot of, there's so much now as far as like coaching techniques, right? Like old school coaching techniques. Coaches used to, rip into you and curse at you, and well, and now a lot of people, don't see that. But I think the problem that a lot of people forget about wasn't that coach ripped you a new one or cursed you out or it was the 20 minutes afterwards. He had done that when he called you back over and he built you back up,
Mhm.
and I think that build up, right, is like, there's so many ways for some of these kids to get pushed, right? Sometimes, you get pushed by your competition, right? Like, hey, you're playing kids that are better than you got to play better, you get pushed there. Sometimes the competition doesn't push you, so maybe your coach is the one that you rely on to push you, right? And he's the one
Mhm.
that helps you develop and keeps you on your toes or whatever. And maybe, maybe you're struggling to find that. And then the third one, which I think is the hardest one, is when you push yourself, right? Where you mentally are like, okay, my competition, I'm better, I'm beating my competition. My coaches are great, but I'm 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 getting as much as I possibly can out of them. Now I got to start pushing myself. And I feel like what you're doing with the complete athlete is, or the fully equipped athlete, is giving kids that opportunity to continue to develop themselves mentally, um, when maybe they're pushing themselves. And like I said, I want to make sure what we get out of this is when people listen to this is that this is not a last resort thing. This is
Yep.
not when you've burnt your ships and you don't know what else to do. This is healthy in success, part of the process, just like your T work. This is
Yeah. Yeah.
this is something that a lot of people don't think about or don't know about, so they don't do it, right? And people go to
Mhm.
a facility, they want to sweat.
Yep.
They
Yep.
want to go, they want to sweat, they want to sweat. But sometimes you can get more out of a classroom setting than you will for 30 minutes, right? If you can
Yeah.
use the word earlier, and I apologize that we haven't stayed on this, but routine, right? If you can create a routine that allows you to mentally prepare yourself for practice, for competition, for tests, for anything,
Mhm.
you have a chance now to be a successful athlete.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Couple things there I want to unpack. First, you said about maybe nowadays or maybe for a while they don't like to talk about or think about that they need help or that
Mhm.
their things aren't going well.
Like a sign of weakness.
That's what people think. And the good thing is the mental skill side. When we were younger, early 2000s, it wasn't that big. Luckily, the book Heads Up Baseball was out. I picked that up, but you didn't hear about it too much. Thing is, it's out there more. And what I've noticed just in the classroom setting at the facility that I've been working with guys, I give them huge part of what we go over is self-awareness. So it's okay, what are you good at, what are you not good at, what are your strengths, weaknesses, what situations make you uncomfortable, a list of practice facing adversity, whether it's speaking in front of your class, giving a presentation, asking a girl out, going back on fly ball to your glove side, ground ball to your right side, all this stuff. And I'm really amazed with some are more than others, but man, they write on these sheets and I tell them to bring them in, and what they write down, they're like, oh, when I strike out and look bad, it's embarrassing, or I make an error, I say to myself, oh, I hope the next ball is not hit to me. That's when they're not going well.
Right.
But some people out there might be listening like, they really think that. But I guarantee at some point, I used to think those things. So what it is, they're being completely honest and they're gaining that self-awareness. And when you
That's
have that
huge.
self-awareness,
That's
that's
huge.
huge. And once you have that, you really, in situations in a game, you know when to make adjustments because you have that awareness. And before you completely spiral out of control, you can make that adjustment and fix it. But those who are too hard-headed and maybe don't want to talk about it or don't want to really put pen to paper and think about, okay, what am I good at? What am I not good at? What do I need to work on? What weaknesses can I make my strengths? That kind of stuff. Man, it makes all the difference in the world. And that's that. And then routine, man. Routine and habits can really are everything because it starts when you wake up, having that good AM routine to get your mind ready, get your body ready for the day, to have a great day. And we like to say, just win the day.
Mhm.
Really, at the end of the day, everyone's careers are made up of days and days and days, thousands of days. It's not, oh, this break happened, this break. No, it's what have you done every single day? What's your routine every day that's eventually going to get you to whatever your goal is? Your goal is day plus day plus day. So having that set routine when you get to the field, before the game, during the game, okay, I'm starting to lose control. I'm losing my focus. Okay, do you have a routine in game? Is it maybe you have a focal point? Maybe it's a foul pole that you like to look at that reminds you of confidence. Then you take a deep breath. Then you're like, okay, hit it to me. Have an in-game routine, have a post-game routine, like we talked about earlier, writing down what went great, what didn't go good. But then maybe a nighttime routine before you go to bed, maybe doing meditation, visualization. But you're right, man. Routine is everything. And that's one of the things when I got to the big leagues, it kind of floored me. Not to say that they were, seem like robots, the guys up there, but
Right.
it's like no matter what happened the day before, if Kluber pitched a complete game one hitter or one inning, gave up 9 runs, the next day, you better believe he was in there doing the exact same thing he did every single day in between starts. And that's routine. That's the power of a routine. And that's what so many guys do, that end up being successful, is have a good routine and not let things just happen by chance. So you're correct on that.
I think the biggest thing that I just heard when I couldn't stay quiet, was self-awareness and being honest with yourself. And the people
Mhm.
that can do that have a chance to be really special, just because they're not allowing peer pressure or other people to affect their growth. And like I said, man, I think what you're doing is really awesome. I mean, for people out there that live in the Maryland area, Brandon does a lot of these sessions at DBAT Gaithersburg. And then
Yeah.
also, you can go to fullyequippedathlete.com. And what I would highly recommend to people that, or just families, like if you're a family and maybe you're a coach and you're coach your kid, or just your kid plays and you're traveling and you go to a tournament and you don't have productive conversations on the ride home, if there's failure or success, you know, maybe think or see if something like this could help you out, because those conversations and those car rides and those, how a family even deals with failure, or success, is huge. Because there's a lot of kids, like you said, like, when a kid makes an error, right, he's embarrassed. Well, if I'm by myself and I make a mistake, I'm not embarrassed of myself when I'm by myself. I'm only embarrassed when there's other people around, So
Mhm.
it's like, what's making me feel embarrassed? Am I embarrassed that, I didn't do a good enough job? I let my team down. I let my parents down. The other team's making fun of me. There's a lot of things, and not everybody's the same. Some people have great relationships with their parents and they don't want to
Mhm.
let their team down, or, you know, a kid doesn't like it when the other team laughs at him, or there's a lot of pressure because kids work really, really hard and parents work really hard and they commit resources, and they feel
Mhm.
that need to have success so that it validates what their parents do for them.
Mhm.
All those things, you know what I mean, are
Mhm.
allow you to kind of find where maybe you need to strengthen yourself mentally.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the parents thing, because I didn't honestly realize that until I started working at the
Mhm.
facility and talking with guys like you and other guys around the area. Whereas what the parents can be doing to these athletes
Right.
mentally, and I'm not putting down parents that are doing this.
Right.
They, I think most of them have good intentions.
Oh, it comes from
Maybe,
heart. It comes from love. I mean, it
yeah.
is not. It is, and that's the hardest part about it, right? When you try to help guide that, you're like,
Mhm.
I know you want it for your child, right? We're both fathers.
Mhm.
There's nothing I don't want from my child, but it's like
Mhm.
being able to even evaluate how you are interacting with your kid. Are you helping them as much as you want to,
Mhm.
versus
Yeah, and it comes back to, we talked about awareness for the athlete.
right,
Maybe the parents, you got to have awareness too. If you're, some kids I worked with already, they are mad at themselves. They went 0 for 4, had a bad game. Then they're pissed. They got to go on a car ride and
right,
talk to their parents or their dad or mom about, okay, what did you do this at bat? What happened? And they get torn down again. So that, a couple kids, guys I've been talking to at the facility, like instructors were telling me, like it made the kid want to quit baseball. So he's just not
right,
playing anymore because the added pressure. It took away the fun.
right,
So if you don't go about it, and you brought up build them up, baseball, the number one thing in baseball, you're going to play good if you have confidence. So, what, as a parent, as a coach, what we should be doing is just doing everything we can to build up their confidence. If they're making mental errors, stuff like that, yeah, you got to get after them and tell them. But
right,
if they're giving their all and they're trying and they're locked in and things don't go right, you can't bring them down.
Right.
You got to bring them up because confidence is everything. So I think a lot of times in those car rides, the parents or whatever might be making their kid think too much or adding pressure to them and taking away the confidence. Because when you don't have confidence in this game, it's so hard. You're not going to have success. So at the end of the day, all you should be doing is making sure the kid's playing hard,
Right.
but also do all you can to build up his confidence and help him enjoy the game. That is the number
Right.
one thing.
Yeah, it's okay to hold your kid accountable, right? Like, you know, when I coach, right? Like I hold my guys accountable for stuff that we go over, right? Stuff that they should know. Hold them
Yeah.
accountable.
Hmm. Hmm.
Holding a kid accountable is boom, there, done. You hold them accountable. Pouring on to break them down is where a lot of people, and it's just frustration, right? It's frustration. Guy that I've worked with for a long time. I trained with him in high school, and then obviously I work with him now in my facility, Michelangelo, and he told me there's 3 reasons why coaches yell. One's logistical, right? You yell at your outfielder, you try to move a guy. And then the other one's frustration and then lack of knowledge. And I've really always thought about that where I get into a point and I'll evaluate myself after I yell. Cause I mean, obviously this beard didn't come because I was, choir boy. But I would, when I yell, it's like, man, why did I yell? If I was frustrated or whatever, and this is one thing that I learned as I got older, I was able as a coach to make myself more vulnerable, right? Where I would be like, okay, don't I don't have to always be, perfect. Now, obviously, I never went overboard. I never, threw anything or anything like that. But like, if I yelled at a kid out of frustration, I always made a point to be like, okay, I need to build him back up.
Hmm.
And if I need to apologize because I went too far, that doesn't make me lose any more credibility with that kid. It probably actually gives me more credibility because at the end of the day, as a coach, I'm trying to inspire, motivate, and lead.
Hmm.
And I feel like, I've been so blessed to have really good friends, really good mentors in this game
Yeah.
who have given me that perspective of,
Hmm.
it's not about me. Like, and I talk about this, any young coach, guy that gets done playing. Because my dad said this to me, because I obviously I stopped playing pretty young and I got into coaching really young. And my dad he was an assistant coach for 30 plus years, like an assistant in football, baseball, multiple head coaches. Everybody hired him, everybody loved him, kids loved him, never wanted to be a head guy. And I still remember when I got into coaching, he said, "Are you done being a player?" And I remember being like, "Yeah, I'm done. I mean, obviously I'm not playing anymore." He's like, "No, no, no. Are you done being a player?" And what he meant by that was like, are you done needing to compete for yourself? Right? Are you done being about you? Um, and I was like, yeah. I was like, I am. He's like, well, then you have a chance to be a good coach because it's no longer about you as a person. It's about your players and their successes become your successes. And good coaches take on their players' failure to the point where those kids believe that their coach can take them out of it. And I think that's something that I've been fortunate from a mental aspect, right? Because I've had so many like just great people around me, and obviously going to Navy and being in this area, like you meet unbelievable leaders, you meet unbelievable mentally, elite minds,
Hmm.
um, and just kind of again getting back to you and what you're doing is like these skills are the skills that if I'm a parent, these are skills that kids kids can take to everything. And I feel like most parents, that's why they have their kids play sports, right? Like learn life lessons. Like I know I love my kids play sports so they fail. Like people are like, what do you mean? I go, I want my kids to fail because at 7 years old, it doesn't matter if they fail, right? In the grand scheme
Hmm.
of life, it doesn't matter. But it does matter
Hmm.
to that child at 7 years old because that's their whole world. And now when she fails, when my daughter fails, now we can talk about how to come back.
Yeah.
how to be successful. And, so that when life really hits her, and maybe it is in athletics, right? Maybe she becomes some kind of unbelievable athlete, and that becomes her career, and that becomes her life path. Okay, awesome. She's already prepared, but maybe it isn't. Maybe it's she wants to be a doctor, or she wants to do something high level. Because obviously her mom's very smart, so she has those opportunities. But no, but like that's the thing that I really, and that's why like I really wanted to get you on this, because it's something that we always brush through when we're coaching, because it doesn't create sweat. And
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
times parents and players get bored because it's not physical. It's not it's like, but man, if I could get you to take 20 20 swings, or get behind the plate and do 20 blocks, or 20, receive 20 pitches in a bullpen, you are mentally free, and you're able, like, I don't think people understand the value of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know
Totally.
guys like you are just going to continue to help people understand that value, and help a
Mm-hmm.
lot of kids stay in this game, which we both know is, like you said earlier, it's failure. And
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
What you just said real quick is you can do all this physical work, the sweat, and I understand. I was young and I
Mhm.
obviously played. I understand that's in some ways it's more fun. It's something
Right.
physical. You're getting, no, you can see the results you're getting, whether it's through technology or whatever. But I promise you this, because I play with so many guys, and you probably did too. They could be great 5 o'clock hitters, light up the hit tracks machine, exit velocity off of a pitch that's coming the same,
Right.
speed area every time, have the best pop time in the cage in pregame. But what do you do when the lights are on? What do
Right.
you do when it matters most, when the pressure's on? There's too many guys that just focus so much on the physical side, and then when it matters during a game, it everything they worked on, which they worked their ass off, it doesn't come
Right.
through simply because they didn't work on it, and they don't know how to handle that pressure or handle that adversity, and deal with it. So you're right on that. And back to the coaching thing. One thing that always stood out with me, very, very fortunate to work with some great coaches,
Mhm.
and Joe Madd and Terry Francona. One thing that is, we're talking about confidence, all this stuff that jumps out with them, with what I noticed personally, just talking to teammates, what we loved is they were good leaders because they built you up. They never embarrassed you in front of people, but you just struck out big situation. If you're giving your all, working hard, they'll come in and say, okay, get them next time. They won't like, oh, what were you thinking there? What were you
Right.
doing? Why'd you swing at that pitch? That kind of stuff. And those are two of the best the game's ever seen. So I really think that could be a good example for a lot of parents and coaches out there. Look what they do. Look at them during the game. They're not, throwing stuff down. They're not getting. Yeah, obviously they want to win,
Right.
but they're building their guys up because
Mhm.
confidence is the number one thing in baseball, in all sports.
Right.
Confidence is everything. So if you're tearing them down, which maybe you need to, maybe a little during a game, but like you said, taking that time to build them back up. It's
Right.
those that don't build them back up, man, you're just draining, and they're going to be losing confidence, and they're not going to be playing towards what their potential is. And I think it's as simple as that.
No, man, and I think you and I could probably talk all day on this, and this has been absolutely awesome. And definitely we're gonna have to get you on again,
For
and do
sure.
this again, because this has just been so great, and there's just a lot of fun, talking these ideas out, and that's why I started this. Like I said, I was very fortunate to meet a lot of great people growing up, and make friends, and be able to share these kind of conversations that usually happen on a cell phone or at a
Mhm.
barbecue. And and it's one of those things where, maybe that kid that just doesn't get an opportunity to hear these things gets to. Brandon, do me a favor and just let everybody know how they can follow you, and get in touch with you, and stuff like that.
Yeah, so basically just fullyequippedathlete.com, on social media, pretty much everywhere, fully equipped athlete or at Brandon Guy or something like that. And really it's just right now, the time wise can't do a ton of one-on-one
Mhm.
sessions, but doing like group and team sessions. But also in the Maryland area at DBAC Gaithersburg, But for the most part, a lot of information, and wrote a playbook called Fully Equipped Playbook. It's about 80 pages, just going over every tool that I felt helped me and helped a lot of my teammates, just talking with them, what helped them the most to make the most of their potential. So you can check that out on Amazon. But more so than anything, just want to get across the importance of the mind and nutrition. I know we didn't talk about that much, but yeah, the mind can be so powerful, and start those creating those good habits and behaviors at a young age, and it will pay off big time. I promise you.
Like I said, man, this has been absolutely awesome. I really appreciate you coming on, man, sharing your time, sharing your knowledge. It's been absolutely a blast, man, getting this conversation in, brother.
Yeah, great talking, Jack, and we'll talk soon, man.
All right. This is the Catches You podcast with Brandon Geyer. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have fun out there.